Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Heshium Lawrence. I am the Interim Associate Dean here in the Souls College of Business at the University of Texas at Tyler. I've been asked to moderate this webinar. So pretty much how I'm pretty much going to start off is I want to ask that we go around the Zoom and just kind of give your name, what institution, and maybe what lab that you particularly teach or operate in, so we can kind of get a feel of who the audience is. And then once we do that, then we'll kind of open up the floor for discussions. I know with COVID-19, we've had to adjust our labs to accommodate those individuals that cannot come in and actually do a hands-on project or hands-on experience. So just want to get you guys feedback, some of the solutions you guys have done. What do you think, future ATMAE can possibly do to help facilitate some type of online structure for labs? Maybe something we can do at a conference. Maybe if you guys like this webinar, we can do another webinar. So first, let's just start off with who you are. I have roughly about 9 participants on the session. So if we can get, let's see, Mr. Jack, if you can go first, and just kind of again give me your name, your background, and what lab you teach in.
All right. I think I got everything set. I'm Jack Martin, and I teach at Appalachian State University. I have a light electric vehicles lab, and we were doing really well first the semester, and fortunately, we were able to continue gathering data so my students could finish up some of their major reports. That situation will not be the same in the future.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jason, if you don't mind, please.
Hello, my name is Jason Keys. I work at UAFS Fort Smith, and I'm a welding instructor, and this is making it really difficult to teach a hands-on trade, if not somewhat impossible. But we've been working through Blackboard with, just your basics of the class. So if and when we do get back in there, we can kind of just jump straight out into the shop hands-on. So there's not much or any questions to be asked, so they can just try to get stuff done as soon as possible. That's our best, that is our best plan at this point.
How many students do you have?
Well, there is 3 instructors, and we typically have around 50 to 60 students.
Yeah, so there's no way in the world they can do a lab project at all.
No, the lab's closed completely. We don't have.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dan?
Yeah, Dan Mitchell, Wayne State College. I'm a department chair for our area in CTE. We have 4 labs: the manufacturing lab, welding lab, construction and cabinetry are together, and our energy, power, and transportation. We really are not closed. We still have some on-campus students coming in and using our labs to get their assignments done, but we're limiting that to 5 or 6 at a time. There's a sign-up time for them.
Okay. I'm gonna pick your brain later on more about that, because we have an issue similar to well, we all have the same situation, but yeah, I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit more. Marcy or Marcia? Marsha, yes, ma'am.
Hi, no, that's fine. I'm Marsha Wheeler. I'm with Ozarks Technical Community College in Springfield, Missouri. We have construction accredited through ATMAE, and we're kind of doing a hybrid of what I've heard the others mention so far. We had an extended spring break, and our students have been online since March 30th. Starting this past Monday, though, if they are very close to graduation, we have this odd schedule we've worked out where there's 1 or 2 students in the lab at one time so they can get completely finished and get out into the workforce. We are also offering incompletes, and instead of the normal 6 weeks after a semester, students will have all summer and into the fall semester to finish up their classes from this semester.
Wow, how many students do you roughly have in the lab?
Normally or now?
Both.
Normally we have about 50 students in the program. So you figure about half of those or a third of those are graduating at each year. So we have about 10 to 15 that we are trying to get them all completely finished up so they can be graduates. And the ones who are maybe in some of the lower level classes or the beginning classes, they're getting scheduled. It's kind of a tiered of how we're scheduling students to come back into the labs.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Mark Lennon.
Yeah, hi, Mark Lennon here, and I guess well, my video's having some issues there. But anyway, Mark Lennon, I'm an automotive instructor at University of Arkansas in Fort Smith. And we've been teaching online using Blackboard ever since this COVID thing kind of went in, you know. I've been using some online software called Electude kind of as my lab. So it's not as good as actually being in the lab doing it hands-on. But it does have a virtual feel to it, using a voltmeter and putting them in the right places to check for voltage and things like that. So, you know, that's been our struggle. I'm hoping that this is over before the fall semester, but we're still making plans and thinking about what we're going to do if, you know, we're still having to practice social distancing.
And where are you once again?
University of Arkansas in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Woot. Did I say that correctly? W-U-T. Boonsuk. All right. Dr. Zaki.
Yes, I'm here.
If you-
So,
Yeah, sir.
sorry, I joined like 4 minutes late.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But basically, what I was just going around, what I was doing was just going around Zoom and just having individuals introduce themselves, which labs that they currently teach.
Okay.
And then later on, we're going to go into how some of you guys are coping with COVID and how you're still getting your instructions across to your students.
I'm Zaki Kurupadal. I'm a professor and assistant department chair for engineering, technology, and management at Ohio University. It's in Athens, Ohio. So we have a very extensive program with a lot of labs. We have about 11 labs, which has plastics lab, machining lab, metal and fabrication, hydraulics, pneumatics lab, robotics lab, then mechatronics. Then there are 2 different classes which uses wood as the base. It's not a woodworking class, but the products built are using wood. Then there is electronics lab. Then there is programming, because we teach C#. So yes, we have a very extensive program with very broad program with a lot of labs, and coming as a surprise to convert it into online. It was not a surprise. In fact, we were talking about it during the spring break, which was March 1st week, about what if this happens. Because if you watch international news, even and I mean it was going that way. Even though the domestic news, it was not a huge thing yet. International news, it was going that route. So we started discussing about it. We only had one meeting about it. So all the faculty members had that in their mind. I don't know if that helped converting the class or not. But again, I just, the person who just spoke right before me, I just heard the last few lines. He said that what if fall? Because we only had 4 more weeks left. So we are starting to look into that. I mean, we already started looking into that because you just heard the number of labs we have. So how can we do it? And as you, Dr. Lawrence, as you ask the question, then I'll share some of our plans.
Okay, and I want to introduce also Dr. Miller. He's in my office. We have 6 feet of distance, by the way. We're 6 feet of social distancing. But he felt it just easier just to come up to my office. So Dr. Miller, if you can just introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Miller, chair of our department, our technology department here at the University of Texas at Tyler. And we've got quite a few labs as well, with our automation, robotics, the non-metallic materials, which is the woods and plastics, and then metallic materials, the metalworking and all that, and then the welding labs, the industrial materials and electronics labs with the fluid power as well. So yeah, it's been fun. So
Okay. Also, there are 2 individuals that they don't really have labs on the Zoom call. That's Jim Thompson and Miss Karen Miles. Would you mind introducing yourselves as well, please?
Sure. Hey, this is Jim Thompson, the Executive Director of ATMAE. Just again, Heshium, thank you for putting this together, and thank you all for joining us. Just as hopefully a way to provide you guys a little extra value for ATMAE and allow you the opportunity to share and network with each other.
Thank you. Miss.
Yes, and I'm Karen Miles. I'm the director of the ATMAE programs, and I'm glad to be here and listen to what you have to share.
And also too, in case those haven't realized, we are recording this so we can share it throughout ATMAE for those individuals that could not make this particular webinar. If you have other coworkers or colleagues that you know in other universities that can benefit from this particular webinar as far as how to handle labs and what we're going to do moving forward, please share it with them. This is for you guys to kind of bounce around ideas and see what works and what doesn't work, and so we can kind of come up with a solution together. So I'll open up the floor for those individuals that want to give an idea of how they have coped with COVID and how they're adjusting to labs. I want to start off by saying we at University of Texas at Tyler, we understand that this affects not only just us, but it affects every major. It affects every major that has a lab. So when I was tasked to try to find out how to deal with the lab situation, I went to Dr. Miller and asked him to reach out to his colleagues to ask them, how are you guys handling the students not being able to come to physically complete a project? How are you handling social distancing with students coming into labs? How are you handling protection, PPE equipment? Do students need it? So that was one of the challenges that we had, and we're still facing it because it's still a lot of uncertainty. We have no idea if we're going to be open for the fall or not. I know our summer has pretty much been said there are no summer classes. So we're still trying to figure out how to maneuver our summer lab courses. So I want to open up the floor and any ideas you guys want to share, by all means. Dr. Miller wants to say something.
Well, I'll just let you know what we're doing here. Our issue is with the model that the president had noticed and for the UT system was that they really didn't want anybody on campus, any students on campus. And so we could not like put them in small groups. You know, I know that the issue was you had to have under 10 or what have you. And so we had to come up with anything that could be done online. So luckily for some of it, we could do, because, you know, if you have this expensive software that's dedicated to just one workstation or whatever, we're able to have our IT support guys make a virtual desktop. And so they're able to get all of the software, or maybe we just have 1 or 2 licenses, put it all on this one computer, and then remotely the students could get on, log into this virtual desktop, and then be able to do all their assignments, whether it was, you know, with, you know, Autodesk Inventor, our CAM stuff, Pro Model, all the different high-end stuff too that we have that's dedicated, and you can't just get or download for free or what have you. So that kind of made it easier in that respect, that anybody could do it anywhere off-site. The other thing that we had was for the courses where they actually manufactured things, we had videotaped in the past step by step how to make all the projects, because a lot of times they said during the demonstrations, well, we couldn't see that demo or what have you. So I thought, well, and luckily I'd done this a few years ago. And so we had it step by step, every process that's involved, the safety with everything. But I had to come up with where they'd watch these videos, and then they would write down on a worksheet, you know, I had questions, you know, the main topics and points that were addressed with that, and then gave them a quiz on Canvas, you know, or Blackboard, whatever you guys use, for each one of those. Yeah, they didn't get to make anything, but they had to at least go through every step and see it all being done. Yeah, it's not the same, but it was better than nothing, because we just couldn't have them on campus. That was our problem. Or they'd have to come back another semester. They'd have to all get incompletes and finish their degree. Well, that was not an option for a lot of the students that were moving on with their life and already had a job in hand once they finished this semester. So that made it really difficult. So that's kind of what we did. We hope this is just for a short term, because that's not how I want to send my graduates out, where they've never, you know, actually turned the dial on a milling machine or anything. You know, that's not the way to do it. But you know, it was a quick fix for what we could do for now. And like I said, there was a lot of stuff available too online from the manufacturers. We asked them, hey, you know how you have these online, they have their own learning management systems with the different software packages too. So they let us use that for free, a lot of these companies, and they probably shared that with you as well. I know we picked up a new robot too, universal robot, collaborative robot. And what's nice about that is you have like their interface, which is, you know, like a teach pendant on one of those flat screens, or what do you call those, tablets. And you can go remotely, see everybody who's online and pick them and let them have access to your tablet, and then have a webcam, and they can actually be moving the robot and programming it and watching themselves program it anywhere in the world, and they can see it. So that was kind of neat. So, you know, there's a few things out there, and with the FANUC, I had to actually do the demos and show them how to do that, and then they would take quizzes on it and all that. But I mean, that's all we could do, and that's why I guess we're having this seminar, see what other ideas are out there and available to us to make this better. So anyhow, that's my 2 cents. That's kind of what we were doing here. It kind of worked for now, but we are hoping that they can open everything up and at least have it to where maybe with the proper PPE, where everybody's wearing masks, and you know, we've got some type of hand sanitizer for everybody, or disposable gloves or something, where they can work on the machines in the labs in, you know, small numbers or what have you, and go from there. But right now, you know, our president decided, well, we're just not going to do that. We're just going to go online. So we're only offering online courses in the summer. Then hopefully in the fall, I think, because they've already, our governor has allowed the state now to where if you have a restaurant, you can have 25% occupancy, when before it was just all takeout. So I think we're going to gradually get there and open up and be able to do it. So, but for the interim, that's kind of what we had to do here. If anybody's got any questions or comments or wants to go next, that's fine. Thank you.
Anybody else want to share their remedy for, you know, students not be able to come to labs?
Dr. Lawrence,
Yes,
this is Zaki. If you may, I can go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go right on ahead.
Okay. So again, we were on a complete lockdown starting March mid. So no students were allowed on campus. So our semester ended actually. This is the final exam week. So like I said before, we had 5 weeks of classes. So obviously machining, plastics, things like that, the students were not allowed back on campus. So, but I would like to emphasize on what Dr. Miller just mentioned, the virtual desktop. If your university does not have a virtual desktop, probably it's a good time to invest. We invested in about 7, 8 years ago, about 50 or 60 licenses, and it was further expanded. Now I think to 100 people can log on at the same time, and all the engineering softwares are available. So even during regular semesters where we had the students could be home or off campus and still work on their assignments. So so I think it's a good investment our college made. It was made at the college level, not at the departmental level. So that helped with a lot of, because for example, I teach tooling, and there are 5 projects in the tooling class. The first 3 are virtual because of the cost involved on building, and the last 2 are based on their capstone project design. So our capstone is split into 2 classes, a capstone 1 and 2, and the capstone 1 is what they simultaneously take with the tooling class. And when the tooling for the project, the last 2 projects, they actually, when we reach that stage, which is the last few weeks of the semester, they already have a design for the capstone. And based on that capstone product, they built 2 actual toolings for their actual capstone project. So obviously, we could not build the tooling, but because of the virtual desktop, they could make all the documentation, including drawings, assembly drawings, dimension drawings, you know, work instructions, everything, you know, using those softwares. We use SolidWorks, by the way, and Mastercam for CNC. And so we kind of adopted the same kind of strategy for a lot of the classes which uses software. It ended with the software experience. I have to admit the students missed out on some of the last 3 weeks of the hands-on experience. But if we move to online, because we have moved fully online for summer, and there's a lot of discussion going on for fall conversion as well. I mean, in fact, our department, have already started thinking about how we can convert. So we are having a faculty retreat next week. But some of the ideas so far discussed is obviously, like if it's a machining class, now virtual desktop, because of virtual desktop, obviously they won't be able to get hands-on the manual lathe, but
Right.
we will turn a little bit more intense with the CNC at that point. So we are planning to go into the labs and shoot videos. And for example, videos about setups and all of that stuff, and manual machines. We're going to show them, the video clippings of what each process set up and all of that stuff. But since we use Mastercam and they can program Mastercam, we're going to have them program stuff from remotely, and they can send the program to us, and then we can generate the codes and run. Hey, this is what it runs like if you run your program. So those kind of ideas is being tossed around. But plastics lab is very challenging because we go through a lot of like hand layup, dip casting, compression molding, injection molding. Again, that's all going to be videos at this point. Electronics, we're planning on, we're looking at cost of small kits because we use Arduinos, what can be sent to the students because that's what's going to be required for those. Robotics, Dr. Miller, I may email you regarding what you said you could, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Lawrence as well. You guys are in the same place. You guys use a remotely operated, not a virtual, remotely operated robot, so that the students can program and run it and see what it is actually like, which is pretty good. Programming is going to be a lot more easier. The drawing class is going to be again because of the software availability, and our university is providing loaner laptops to people who don't have a great laptop. Ohio is flat, and there's a lot of remote areas, and we have a lot of students from there. So the internet connection is a problem. It's slow. SolidWorks has given us, in fact, I think it's for every student. You can talk to them, and they will provide you like 2 to 3 months complimentary, where you can download the full version and run it on your computer just like a normal one. Otherwise, I think the student copy is like $100. We are also starting to explore tooling you. I would love to hear. I would love to hear if anyone is using it, because yesterday we all got a username and password from a representative. So we are going to start looking into it. What is available in the tooling you? That's what our plan. As of now, that's all where we are.
Are there? Excuse me, is there anyone on the Zoom now that's using tooling you? Because Dr. Miller and I have discussed that. I know I've had other ATMAE meetings. We've kind of discussed some usage of tooling you. Is there anyone on this Zoom webinar that's currently using tooling you?
We were going to use it. We were hoping that they would give us a little bit of a discount to at least try it, but no, that Teresa or whatever her name is there. And I thought, oh, come on, everybody else is letting them use the software for free during this time to get them hooked so they'll use it. But the deal is, it's what, $90 per student for
Yeah.
the semester, but it's available to all of their 300 plus courses. So I
Yes.
thought, yeah, if we get together as a faculty
Yes.
and require,
That's what we are exploring.
yeah, and that
So
way,
if we can use it for 3 courses for a year, it's only because it's a license is $95 or $90 for one student per year.
90.
90. Oh, okay, 90. So if 3 courses can utilize it, then obviously and eliminate a book, then that's an average of $33.
yeah, that's a
so
great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were discussing that, but I honestly, all the faculty got a free username and password for 1 year.
Okay. Is there anybody else that's using anything other than, possibly tooling you? Like, what other softwares are you guys using to accommodate your students? And then this is not just for Dr. Zaki, but for everyone.
I've been using a program, I mentioned it earlier, called Electude, and it's a pretty neat virtual software. It shows you a vehicle there, and you have an oscilloscope that you can use to check the sensors with. You've got a voltmeter, and you can actually unplug components, replace components. I can put problems in the vehicle, and the students have to diagnose it and find out what's wrong. Like I said, it's a good temporary solution. It's nothing like actually having your hands on the vehicle, But
Well, yeah. But I think that works though, because again, the students will still be able to understand the concept of current, of voltage, where to put the multimeter to actually measure current and voltage. If the vehicle's off, which one can you measure, current or voltage and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's good. It's good for that, but where it's not, where it really doesn't is, for example, you can take the alternator off with a single click, and that's, that's really not realistic. They don't get the experience of that bolt being rusty and then snapping the bolt off. Okay, let's got to drill this out, get an easy,
That's right.
Maybe engine in 2 clicks.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Jack, you said something?
Mark, what is the name of that product again?
Electude, and I know right now we're using it for free. Every automotive program they allowed to do it for free. I tell you what, if you want, I'll share my screen and pull it up.
That would be nice.
Yeah, you can do that real quick. You should be able to do it.
Or if not, you can even write it on the chat what the name of it is.
While Mark's doing that, I was gonna send a question via chat, but I'll just ask it. Are you guys giving incompletes? And how are you handling students completing those tasks?
We are giving incompletes. Normally, in a normal semester, for extenuating circumstances, they would have 6 weeks to complete.
Mm-hmm.
We are giving them now until November because some of the courses that we have are so lab intensive. So yeah, it's going to be a logistical nightmare.
Yes.
I asked the question a couple weeks ago. I said, so what numbers are we going to send in to iPads and everything for graduates and to ATMAE and everything else? I said, do we use typical May numbers? Are we using closing out our year in November? So yeah, it's going to be a logistical mess. To be very honest, and the people at ATMAE, close your ears because this may not be with all your standards. We have basically told our students that whatever grade they had at midterm cannot go down because of going online. It can only go up. That doesn't mean that they don't participate the rest of the semester. They still have to participate. Otherwise, they can lose financial aid and all that other jazz.
Yes.
But they will not, their grades will not suffer because they were shoved into an online environment.
one thing I do have to say is, again, I said it kind of earlier, every institution is going through some type of change, some type of modification due to COVID-19. So I think that some of the accreditation bodies will be a little more relaxed when it comes to some of their standards for accreditation. I know for us at UTTyler, because our students are not in the lab and they're not able to do certain things, you know, when we do go up for accreditation, we're going to have to kind of specify that. But I think accreditation bodies know that. They know every institution is going to have some, maybe, you know, not so standard numbers whenever they do their accreditation reports. So that's interesting. Anybody else doing incompletes?
Yeah, we are doing, this is Zaki again, we are doing incompletes, and our university has a S grade now option, means after the instructor post the original grade, the students have as an option to choose an S, which means satisfactory. It'll meet all the prereq and you know, requirements for a subsequent course if the course is a prereq for something else, but it will not count towards your GPA. And if a student fails, they will get a NC, no credit. They have the option to choose that, which I'm assuming almost anyone who fails would choose, because it's not going to affect their GPA. So we have a university-wide system in place right now to do that. So
that's very similar to what we're doing. We have pass-fail options. So
okay.
We're actually in our final exam week. So grades are due by the 5th. So after that, the students have, I think, until the 19th to determine whether or not they want to pass or fail. So it's very similar to what Ohio's doing.
Yeah, but the other part to that is the issue that they have to have a C or better in the coursework that we offer in the major, and a pass is not considered a C, it's just considered a D. And so we can't give them credit for it. So I've been advising the students, hey, if this is your major, you better not go that route. And so now they're really trying to study for their exams and finish up. So
Well, and another thing that we as a community college have to, because we're doing the pass, no pass too, if students want to, but we are giving them the advice of, if you choose to go to a four-year institution, that institution may not accept the pass, no pass. So make sure you know your end institution, if they will accept it. Otherwise, you may end up taking another class or two.
That's true.
see, and we found out for professional schools that, let's say if you're going to be an attorney or whatever, they count a pass as a C. So it can hurt you. It'll because, and then they recalculate your GPA. So if you had a whole bunch of passes for a semester or two, they're averaging in those 2.0s to your GPA. So, you know, it's tough. I mean, it may not matter with too many people, but let's say if they wanted to go on and become an attorney or do something else, that really is going to affect them. So.
Yeah. Mark, were you able to pull up, you get that screen?
Yeah, I did. Let me switch over to it here.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Oh, okay, good there.
4-cylinder.
There we go. But this is the simulator that they kind of give you, and you can kind of see all the components, even down to the cooling fan, you know, the battery. You got your relays, fuse block there. Over here, it gives you your tools so that you can.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Take a measurement,
Or something.
you know, like the battery.
Yeah, look at that.
And we can pull up the instrument panel. You can start the vehicle.
Look at that.
So, and y'all probably can't hear the sound, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we can hear
No,
you.
we
right
hear
there,
it fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
We can get it to 8,000 or 9,000.
Yeah. Well, it
Oh, yeah, there you go.
you hear a student do that in the lab, you start yelling, right?
Yeah. How long have you been using the elective? Just recently, this semester?
Just since all of this has been going down, like I said, I got an email from one of the sales representatives, and saying they was offering it to all the schools in light of all the COVID thing, and allowing it for free. So, which I guess it worked because our school's really looking at possibly purchasing the software.
How much is it? Is it expensive?
I think there's a site fee of $500 is what they quoted us. And then I believe it was $75 per student.
No, it's not bad.
And that's for a year.
Oh, wow.
That's not a semester.
Are there other simulations?
So it's actually, oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, there's different modules.
Okay. Parallel.
Like right here, I can click on engine repair, and there's different modules that you can work through that it's more or less kind of like a textbook. And right now you're seeing the instructor side, not the student side.
Okay.
But you can select the different modules you want your students to work through, and they can work through it. And I'll click on cylinder heads here, and when you hit start module, that's when it begins. But it has really good animations and all of that you can work through. The student just kind of works through it, answers the questions. If they get it wrong, they can go back and they keep doing it. And it shows you on the back side how many times a student worked through the problem and how long they spent on it. So it's kind of nice and helpful for that.
They spent a lot of money on this.
It seems like a really high quality tool for me.
So Mark, do you mind if I ask, do your students get to sit for the ASE and the NATEF stuff? For the certificate? We have concurrent students. Okay.
And so our high school students actually can sit and take the ASE student exam.
Okay.
But as far as ASE testing, that's third party. We really have nothing to do with that at all. And plus a student has to be working as a technician for 2 years before they can even take the test.
I was just wondering if this would be a good study type tool for them to prepare them for that test as well.
I'm sure it would be. So.
Do you mind if I give our automotive department chair your name and number?
I don't.
All right.
I'll even, let me see here. I'll even post the person that I talked to. There you go. It should be in the chat there.
All right, thank you.
But anyway, Clara is the one that I dealt with. She got me set up and got my students imported in there for them to access it and all that. And I asked her if I could share it with other automotive instructors. She said, absolutely. So
Thank you.
she said any automotive school is welcome to use it for free. Probably a good sales pitch.
They only sell automotive software?
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, that's it.
Oh, thanks, sir. Anything else as far as how you guys have coped with, not having students in labs and stuff of that nature? Any ideas of how ATMAE could possibly help, kind of curtail some of your frustration, some of your circumstances?
I think it'll be good to have like a platform where anyone who has new ideas where they can post. Maybe it can be done through the listserv, but a place where someone can get what kind of a snapshot. Okay, Millersville used this, UTTyler used this software, because considering all the technology programs are lab intense, I think we are all seeking some sort of a software like Mark just showed us. So if there is a platform where we can see multiple sources, especially cheap sources, that'd be great.
I'd like to see a competition that would be summed up at our national meeting for how people have dealt with this. And perhaps you could get some of these software program people to fund it.
It's a good idea. Jim, did you get that?
Yeah, with the COVID-19, they
Yeah, we got that.
Well, it's definitely forced us. You know, we've always been told to have a plan B, but it has forced us really quick to have a plan B. So as we all went into crisis mode, we reminded all of our faculty to write things down that they were doing so they wouldn't forget, because here we are 6 weeks into this, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we didn't even consider this. So I would encourage everybody to start writing down everything, because hopefully none of us on this call will be here next time this happens, but you never know.
Well, and we were able to get additional funding for various things, and they could relate it to COVID-19 somehow and be able to get the funding from somewhere else. So that's kind of nice. So another thing to think about is, but you're right, if you have this plan B in place and you've run through it a couple of times, it makes your life a little easier in case there is a crisis.
Now, I can't remember who asked if they could share my name with their automotive professors, but I put my email in the chat. If you want to do that, I'll be fine. Or I'll be happy to talk to anybody that wants to ask questions or whatever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, and Karen and Jim, are you going to make this recorded Zoom available? And if so, where can people have access to it?
Yeah, we'll make it available and it'll be emailed out to everybody.
Okay, great.
Thank
you. Thank you.
So just to kind of sum up what we've just been discussing, we know all of us are having issues with COVID and students not able to come to the labs. We found some dues that we have put into place that are actually working for our students. What are some of the don'ts? What are some of the things you guys have tried and were like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, we made a mistake. Let's not do that. What are some of those?
Well, that's good. I guess nobody made any
I
mistakes.
guess so. Well, perfect then. I guess everyone did a good job with their dues then. Let's see, one more thought. With this going on, how many guys are anticipating on opening up for the summer? Has that been discussed at your institution as far as opening up, and how are you going to handle students gradually coming back into your labs? Have you discussed PPE? Have you discussed limiting the number of students in your labs?
At Wayne State College, they said all summer classes are going to be remote, no face-to-face.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
All of ours are going to be remote for those students who are finishing up their incompletes and their lab time. Like I said, it's a logistical nightmare trying to get them all scheduled. So there's few people in the lab at one time, but right now they are required to have masks. And then depending if it's in our welding classes, the welding hood suffices and things like that. But depending on what is industry specific, that's the PPE they have.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all of our summer classes are remote as well, and I typically teach heating and air conditioning during the summer, And when they said it was remote, rather than trying to teach it remote, I just canceled it. And we're putting it off till the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that hold up anybody from graduation or anything? Or?
Well, one student, it will hold them up by 1 month. So,
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah, that's fine.
or excuse me, 1 semester. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Said 1 month.
Well, I mean, if it's only one person, what can you do? I mean,
Right.
if it was 10, you can have the course could make, but if it's one, there's nothing you can do. So.
So we are, this is Zaki again. We have a challenge in because we have our president has what's called Ohio guarantee. That means if a class is required by a student to graduate and it's not a student's mistake, you have to offer that class. We have no option. So that was one that we cannot cancel. The classes. It's called Ohio Guarantee. That is one thing that I mean, and I kind of agree with it. I mean, I want the student to be held off from graduating because of.
Well, we have that too, but if we check back that they sat out a semester to do something, or it was their issue where they didn't take the courses when they should have at that time because they didn't want a certain instructor, then yeah, we kind of override that and say sorry. So, but you're right. I mean, if it is where they've done everything they're supposed to do, but usually you'll have a few of them that'll have that issue, not just one. So
yeah. And Ohio, we are closed. I mean, we are only strictly online during summer. And in fall, some of the things I've been hearing is small, what is it, mini mister or whatever you call it. This is 7 week, like having only half the students, because we have a 2-year residency requirement for freshmen and sophomores, like a lot of universities. And we have about 25,000 students on campus, so we are afraid of that. You know so to minimize dorm distancing and things like that, we've been hearing that could be one option, that first 7 weeks students would come back with maybe last name or whatever, with the first letter of last name, or the second half. So obviously the instructors will have to go through two cycles, but I'm not sure if it's there is no official notification about that, but these are rumors we have been hearing.
So they're gonna pay you double then?
So you double the contact, means the faculty would teach, say for example, the first 7 weeks would be theory online, so that half the students stay, whatever contents can be delivered online, they will stay at home. So they will be like taking the lecture portion of it, and the next 7 weeks the students will be on campus to do all the lab type work. And whoever, say for example English, if they can stay if they can be at home the entire semester, then they have to be at home for the student is an English major. But for us engineering, I'm hearing like this small mini misters, they're calling it something.
No, but you're doing twice the work. So do you guys you guys have unions up there? I mean,
no, we don't.
I don't see that flying. I'm sorry, but
I mean, at this point, I mean, I'm tenured and a professor. I mean, but at this point, we are all glad to have a job. So I think that the faculty.
Yeah, but they're going to get used to that. And be able to collect twice the revenue or something. Then they're going to make it standard policy. And
in fact, there are some of the programs like the master's program, the 1-year graduation programs, which are run in that manner. And there is a pilot program in College of Business here, which is running it like 7 weeks it's an online program. I think it's an online MBA. And because all the the business people they are all working people, and they can get that the number of courses required to graduate in 1 year. So they can take multiple courses and focus on just that course for 7 weeks. So that model,
Yeah, we have that for our MBAs as well. Yes.
yeah.
They pay more for it, but that's what they want. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we roughly have about 5 minutes left for the webinar. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss or try to pick maybe ATMAE's brain or some of your colleagues' brains about?
One of the things that we're looking at is it will be either July or later before we're told what to expect for this fall statewide. And there's a guarantee. We have several older gentlemen who teach, older women, I'm sure, in other schools, but they've already served notice that they will not teach in classroom this fall because of health concerns. Fortunately, what I know is paper and pencil classes, but that could cause a big problem in the very near future.
What state are you in?
North Carolina.
Where?
North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina.
Oh, you right up there next to Jim. You're right there with Jim. Jim Thompson.
Yeah, I know Jim and Karen, I've met them in their offices.
Oh, cool.
So they've already made that decision for the state already?
No, they won't make that decision until after July.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully things will get better.
But,
We'll either all come down with it or they'll have a vaccine. Interesting.
Yeah, that is
I
kind
would love to find a way of what people are working on, like Mark finding that program is very, very helpful. And I would love if ATMAE would look to a sponsorship from one of the software developers to fund a competition. Like I said, we may be doing a virtual conference as well, but having a competition where they meet, make some criteria, and reward people who come up with some really good ideas. Because even this is an opportunity for us to find other ways of delivering information. I worked on a project for the military decades ago on their personnel carriers. It was a DVD, and if you screwed up, you put the DVD in the computer, found what was going wrong, and it would give you a video and a walkthrough on how to repair that part, repair and replace.
and I agree with you that because this may be the new norm. A lot of people talk about what's going to be the new norm. This could potentially be the new norm where we may have to offer some of our lab courses via online. So, bringing up that idea of having some maybe the software individuals come to the conference and sponsoring the event and seeing how we can adjust and cope with that. I think that's a good idea because I've been watching the news and hearing, talking to other people, and some people are saying that COVID will possibly come back again. I mean, it may come back in the wintertime, someone had mentioned. So I don't know for a fact, but it will be nice for us to have prepared for it, have a plan B, and even probably have a plan C or D, just in case something goes wrong and we need to figure out how to get our students out and knowing how to work a lathe or a CNC or how to program a robot. So are there any other concerns or questions you guys may have for myself or your colleagues or for Jim or for Karen? Okay, well, I have roughly 3 o'clock. I want to thank those that have volunteered their time to participate in this webinar. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Karen, for hosting it. If you have any concerns or questions, please email Jim at executive@atmae.org. And again, thank you guys so much for participating. Be safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing, please. Have a good rest of the week and a great weekend, guys. And young
Hey,
lady.
Thank you.
Hey, Heshium,
Thank
before,
you.
before we depart, I did want to remind everybody, we do have 2 more webinars that are scheduled, one for next week and then 1 week following, same time, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. The next one would probably be, Jack, I think you kind of mentioned this, it's sort of about what is the administration kind of doing for the fall. I know that's probably going to be a question that webinar is specifically kind of geared towards sort of the administration functions of the institutions and sort of what are they doing in regards to COVID response for not only now, but, you know, looking forward to the future. And then of course the next one, and I know Marcia, you mentioned about the accreditation question about, you know, what is happening.
You weren't supposed to be listening to that, remember?
I wasn't listening. I was somebody else that was listening, not the ATMAE executive. But the week following that is going to be actually our folks from accreditation sort of talking about, you know, so how is accreditation kind of be viewing sort of how things are going to be looking like when it comes to this year and what it looks like for not only for reaccreditation, but other organizations that are looking at accreditation too. So anyway, just want to give you all a heads up on those. But Ian, thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.